They had learned to use fire, but they had not yet learned the most important lesson: control.
The gift that gave them life now threatened to take it all away. They learned the hardest lesson. At that moment, 1 million years ago, a force of nature was about to change the destiny of humankind forever.
The balance of power in the ancient world was about to shift. For the first time, the hunted held the high ground. In that moment, it was not muscle, but a spark of consciousness that would change everything. They hadn't just captured a flame. They had created a home. For our ancestors, the night was not just the absence of light. It was a predator. Trapped by the cold, they were prisoners of the night. For our ancestors, the night was not just the absence of light. It was a predator. The explosion of sound and light was deafening, a terrifying display of power our ancestors had never witnessed. Instinct screamed to run, but the leader's command held them frozen in fear. Fear is an instinct, but curiosity is the beginning of evolution. He took the first step, not as a hunter, but as an explorer of the unknown. He was learning his first painful lesson about the power he sought to understand. This was not just an action. It was an experiment, a turning point in human evolution.
He held power in his hand for the first time. The world would never be the same.
He brought the light into the darkness, but his gift was met not with joy, but with fear. They huddled in the darkness, staring at the approaching light with primal fear. To accept something new requires greater courage than facing an old enemy. 2 generations, youth and experience, united by a single purpose: to bring the strange, new power home. Their newfound power was fragile, at the mercy of the elements.
Darkness had reigned for millions of years. Tonight, that reign was over.
For the first time, there were smiles in the dark.
They gathered not just for warmth, but for connection.
The balance of power in prehistoric life had shifted, not by tooth and claw, but by intellect. A silent acknowledgement. The responsibility of keeping the flame alive was passed on. They began to learn, to experiment, to understand. These were the first bricks in the foundation of science and technology. An accident, a simple mistake, but it would lead to one of the most important discoveries in the history of human evolution. A new taste, a new world of flavor. And the first impulse was to share. For the first time, they slept through the night, warmed and protected by their silent guardian. They understood this power needed to be nurtured. Maintaining the flame became the tribe's sacred duty.
In the calm of the new morning, a single moment of carelessness was all it took.
A single spark, an unseen danger. The stage was set for disaster. They had learned to use fire, but they had not yet learned the most important lesson: control.
The very power that promised safety had now become their prison.
Trapped and suffocating, they were being consumed by the very element they thought they had tamed.
In the face of ultimate danger,
Another leap forward in consciousness was about to take place.
He fought back with primal fury, but it was a battle he could not win. Power demanded a price. Power demanded a price. In the face of chaos and pain, a different kind of spark was about to ignite. An idea.
This was the birth of strategy, of purposeful communication to solve a problem.
They were no longer a panicked crowd. They were a team. The foundation of early society was being built.
They invented one of the most important primitive tools, not for hunting, but for control.
They were no longer running from the fire. They were fighting it.
They were no longer a panicked crowd. They had become a team. The foundation of early society was being built.
The fire was out. Battered and exhausted, they had won their first battle against chaos. They had invented one of the most important primitive tools, not for hunting, but for control. They sat in exhausted silence, looking at their accomplishment with pride. In the warmth of the fire, the first acts of medicine began.
He finally understood the ultimate lesson. The greatest power is not in possession, but in responsibility.
They had not just captured a flame. They had built a home. A gesture of respect. A bond forged in fire.
Over 1 million years ago, a single spark lit up the future. It wasn't just fire, it was the dawn of humanity.